He's one of the greats of the literary world, and at some point in life, everyone should read at least one book by Stephen King. Whether it's a short story or a full-length novel, King never fails to amaze with his incredible imagination and his ability to write horror. If you've never read Stephen King, it can be hard to figure out where to get started. There are so many great novels by King with vastly different stories and themes to them. This list took lots of thought and time, but it compiles the best Stephen King books. It can be tough to really separate a lot of them from the movie or television shows that they inspired. For example, Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption is a worthy story on its own, but the movie is a classic, so many people think of the book favorably due to the greatness of the movie. This list will focus on the books themselves, so without further ado, here are the top 5 Stephen King books. Number 5, The Long Walk. This might be a surprising one since it's rarely included on other Stephen King lists, but it deserves to be included and it is highly underrated. The Long Walk is actually the very first novel King wrote and was initially published under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. He wrote it when he was in university, and it's even more amazing thinking of how young he was when he accomplished this novel. There's an annual contest called The Walk where 100 teenage boys basically have to walk until there is only one left. What happens to the other 99? To put it bluntly, if they give up or collapse, they're promptly killed. This is an amazing journey, and you'll feel like you are taking every step with Raymond Davis Garrity, the protagonist in the book. This is an amazing psychological horror novel. Number 4, Misery. Obviously, psychological horror is where King really shines, and Misery is a great example of that. This is the story of a famous writer who kills off the popular protagonist in a book series that he writes. The author then almost dies in a car accident but is rescued by a woman who is more than what she seems. Her name is Annie Wilkes and says she is his #1 fan. She also refuses to let him leave her house until he writes a new novel bringing the character back. Annie may be one of the most deeply disturbed characters that King has ever written, and both the book and the movie are amazing. Number 3, It. It is a tricky book because it's incredibly long, and at times the details King goes into are insane. However, it's one of those books that will have a definite impact on your life if you finish it. You'll never forget it, and this is one of the best books in the horror genre. Number 2, The Shining. The Shining is the type of book that'll make you wonder if you're going crazy. You get so invested in the character Jack that you're right there with him. In this book, Jack and Wendy Torrance and their son Danny move into the Overlook Hotel during the off-season, with Jack as the caretaker. They are the only 3 people at the hotel to look after the grounds, but all isn't what it seems. Without saying too much, you probably won't want to stay in room 217 the next time you go to a hotel. Simply put, this is a really fascinating book, and the pacing of it is incredible. You will feel yourself going crazy alongside Jack. Number 1, The Stand. In any top Stephen King books list, you will no doubt see this book within the top 5. It's King's vision of the world that has been blasted by plague and has a struggle between good and evil. Do yourself a favor and get the complete and uncut edition. If you don't, you'll be missing about 150,000 words. It's a long one, but it's one that you'll be glad you read.